Hey, me who news bulletin and I'm sick. Asamaba.
Abusan comedian so enya Pascal Agiskolom TikTokers for no abe clash with John Mahama and NDC government and organized labor for increasing public sector salaries by only 9%. Abai ne to aketua mo just 9% pay. Ama organized labor for ebo adwoso omo bo adwoso omo ajatum na no ana TikTok responsive hwe ehene ha mo gaza edwuma ho ehene ha o ma bede kan wadwen pa me mo nkyere mu no akere wadwen ama me e wo comment section aha yi Penyah block media me so say ni di mo o be like video no other my button subscribe button so na be click notification icon for latest updates na be kire wadwen da ama me e wo comment section me so so ba so no wa share for so onya bi ahwe onim say Ghana oba Ghana ha no ma ye wonkofu ko bi a ye fro mu organized labor o mu na se eba aketua ntumu a o mu ene aban no ekotena se e de hyehye eba se beto obi akatuam e wo Ghana hanom omu na ne aban ne kwotena se on the negotiation table net omu ato adwene na asi benkurom na se omu e de abeto dwa ama Ghana fo nyina ate ase na organized labor no ana obekia 2017 akufa da ebetena Ghana konwa so no oyen se oto akatuam oda se o kan organized labor fo wonya botre ma me ba ye nche etiri wo de mo nye 10% o ga se wo de be de masa akufo 10% de yempe yempe fabi ka ho ene aban no ma omu 12.5% eno kura na se organize for mu bo enshara enyo so but omu fa de sa 2018 ana kufu aban sa ka organized labor me ma mo 10% enka ho me be se me sa to market mu public sector aketua be se me sa tum obi agara ni bia no be se me sa to market mu e be se me sa tum by 10% aban esa akufu esa ten do krati faka kraka what I say Emma Kufa is had the 1% account Emma or two obi aketu mo Ghana ha by what 11% in 2018 and in 2019 ana aban no esa propose 10% oh massa Akufu ten do ten do o de fa bi kan massa yeah because me buy here me $2 yen 2 mu inflation rate and that's so that the gina bibian cost but aketua na me to 2 mu e mo fa this ah e no kra na se organize ba omo mo hwene but you know omo genesa ene kosi 2020 mu in 2020 mu no ana aban no ema wo mu 15% increment e de be piece wo na se 2017 no or to aketua mu 12.5%, 2018 otumu 18 otumu 11%, 2019 otumu 10%, and 2020 otumu 15%. And yet 2021 you started another term. In 2021 about organized labor for me person me mamu me say to aketua mu momra me person me to aketua mu na when you dey person me dey mamu me din kan amamo 4% increment na me wi a mama mu 15% interim premium. Just say abani yomu ye pa yes o yomu ye emeno organized labor for ejitu ene atisi 2022 na 2022 no ana aban no ema wo mu entumu that is 2021 ebe 2022 no entumu ebaye na eye 15% collar based increment and omu eye but ye free 2022 ekwa 2023 ni mo no ana on say increment no at say afi no be kwa wie ya ana aban e propose say be say me to aketua mu say afi no be kwa wie ya ana aban no o propose okay me be say we ni ade am be say me me to aketua mu say what I say me to aketua mu say 2022 e kwa wie ya emekwa 2023 ni mo no ana aban e propose organize am be say me to aketua mu na we ni de mema mu 18%. Organize by what we here ha aban yempe there be yempe 18%. That is December 1st December 2022. Omu ka check for aban say omu mpe 18%. Na momu no omu pe 60%. E go mo na twa bi. That time no organized labor oba twa bi ana said no oba twa bi ana. Let's say aketua entumu na omu be expecting the year 2023 ko we e 2022 omu gitumu e be year 2023. Let's say aketua entumu na omu anida so in the year 2023 no ana omo twe ho manso 2022 na obu pe 60% increment ana banze hwe na mo pa mo asem ne say there be o 60 de mintimi krache mintimi eja ne metimi 30 no kra no na omo beso media tum ana later omo beje 30% increment no etum wo so organized labor agree on 30% base pay increase is omo ebeji etum wo so okay ni aban yate 30% no ye be fa ne saa ye no enye de bia bia ye be fa 20 ye be fa 30% no ye be fa ne saa ene ne aban etum o market mu by 30% in the year 2023 free 2023 equal 2024 no mu no ana proposed a info for sabai increment of salary sabai enti organized labor enya hint say aban ne pese obeto aketua mu ebiem no exactly 14th November 2023 ana organized labor for edi nkan di omu no de omu hwe ebeto aban nanim eka kira go for aban say entum no pese ode ba no o make sure say it will be 70% and above. Just organize labor for the nkan twa omu no bo omu per 70% increment and above. Ema abanga say hwe na mo munye serious ana munye serious 70% na mo pe monyi mere ya munye wa jabo pe aketua ntumu organized labor for munye wa jabo pe ntumu na se obege 10 million na obege 7 million aka ho na be 17 million hwe la za le to aketua hey organized labor pa za le to aketua obodo omu de abai say o say abai na ntimi kura de e wo to timi omu 70% and above. And omu yeah. The first quarter of 2024 no. And no, they don't move 70% no. Abai no ema omu 23%. What I say? Amanga say masa me 23%. And after the first quarter of 2024 no, yebe ra second quarter mu no. Ana abai no a propose say obetime obesa to aketua mu biem kona say yekura election yam e wo say aban ni bibi na ode ko pay vote obesa to aketua mu te go for aban propose 20% ana organize by force o masa yempe 20% part yempe 70% na din kan o kan wasam 2023 no and one yempe na say hunu say ana go aban say they want the ontimi masa 70% because imagine say me din kan mamo 23% from 2024 January to June mama mo 23%. 20 beka ho na ye 43% for the year 2024 nko amos monti ase eno say de mu pa de mu per 70 and go back 70 de ontimi enti yempe no ene ko gina 25% aban no 5% e kan ho ene say otun mu ema wo mu 25%. Ene say the year of 2024 no ku for aban eto akatua mu 2 times odinka mo mu 23% increment and at the latter part of 2024 say mo mu what 25% increment 2024 nkwan otumu 48% increment just 2024 abani tumu 48% increment. And interestingly ya to be Mahama eba ye no out of nowhere and it say on so no January you no on so ebe to na keto nko president bi aba ofofra afina hyase no otu aketua mu on set 2024 no query no na organize labor for 30% increment omo po over 70% and go back as obetimi 20% no say no omo ntiase or ana ombeka ekosi 25% increment it then go be say Mahama ba obeto aketum da bianka anka organize labor for ebe expect ade bia eso yanko tia Mahama so be mo 10% increment na organize labor for akwaji atum organized labor for akwaje 10% increment na atum later and statement we ba ya no omo kase de ntia omo reject Akufo-Addo the 30% ni 25% increment ni say omo say Akufo-Addo no ono ni wo ma metena meeting na say otubo for the represent no it na Akufo-Addo disrespected them Akufo-Addo amfa bu ama wo entina omo anya aketua no antum no and I was like hey enti say nipa na ma metena ho no mo enti no and tomorrow day more who now be enjoy no who reject it akwaje ketua just because Mahama was there in person eh Ghana anybody be adwe nya adwuma bi ma adwe e bi ma board down complete e bi ma board down complete honestly that's what the guy 10% increment after share Now we are lancing him and what ye. Everybody say Mahama Besa to a Katua Bibi, Educa 2026 or Sabatum. Obertum, a born coba. I bet that 9%. Let's say Obertua Katuamu 9% starting the year 2026. I'm an organized labor for as I call it Adiwe Atom. That is already the organized labor area now. A pure propaganda, any jandam, a your time, hunu, and I know more time for the government because some way, somehow, now you were demanding 60%, any 70%, but Obi more 10%, any even 9% in there. What yatum? No, and comedians say TikTok is fun cool kwapa. Oh my god, lie, and oh my bad clash with John Mahama, any organized labor nankasa.
After everything, we have 9%. So after all the meetings, the silence, the rumors, and the drama, we finally have it. Government and organized labor have agreed on a 9% increase in base pay for 2026. Yes, 9%. If that number sounds familiar, it's because the national daily minimum wage was also increased by exactly 9%. Is it a coincidence? I doubt it. So let's break it down. This whole story started weeks ago when the government invited selected unions for the 2026 base pay negotiation. They went in, came out and said inconclusive, no figures, no explanation, and as always, people started guessing 10%, 15%, maybe even 20%. Workers were hopeful because earlier this year they were told to accept 10% for 2025 so the new president could stabilize the economy and do better next time. Well, this is the next time. We have 9%. But here is where things got ugly. Some registered unions like Innovative Teachers, Attack, Gate, and others were not invited to the meeting at all. Meanwhile, unions without bargaining certificates like CCT, NAGRAT were inside there. When the excluded unions questioned it, they were told you don't have bargaining certificate. Really? The Labor Act says even two people can form a union and their voices must be heard equally. So why were some voices shut out completely? Those unions didn't take it lightly. They came together, issued a press statement, and exposed what was actually happening inside those secret meetings. They accused organized labor's leadership of weak bargaining, of failing to consult, and of losing touch with ordinary workers. They demand transparency. They demanded at least 50% increase, saying that anything less than that is an insult to the Ghanaian worker battling high taxes, fuel prices, and rent. And you know what? When one of the official groups that was actually in the meeting, Public Sector Workers Union, released their own update, it confirmed everything the angry unions had to say. Labor started at 20%, government started at 2.5%. By the end of the day, labor stood at 15%, government moved to 5%, then later 6%, inconclusive. Fast forward to November 9th and the big announcement finally comes. The National Tripartite Committee meets and declares that the national daily minimum wage will increase by 9%, moving from 19.86 to 21.77 starting from January 2026. And guess what? The base pay, which determines public sector salaries, is also being increased by 9% across the board. After all the noise, all that hope, all the back and forth, workers are getting 9%. Let's think about this. The daily minimum wage affects private and informal workers, the people who earn the least. The base pay affects public servants, teachers, nurses, civil servants, and all workers under the single spine salary structure. Both went up by the same 9%. So what's the message here? That everyone from the lowest paid casual worker to the professional teacher with 15 years of experience deserve the same 9%. People were expecting double digits. Some said at least 10% or 15%. Others hoped for 20%. But what they got instead was a uniform 9% wrapped with promises of future engagement and economic management. disappointment mixed with frustration. Meanwhile, the cost of living keeps rising. Utility tariffs are up by 21%. Taxes keep piling. And yet the people who make this country run, teachers, nurses, security officers, are told to manage 9%. The excluded unions say this is exactly why they fought to be heard. They warn that decisions made behind closed doors won't reflect the suffering on the ground. Now it's playing out. So let's ask ourselves, after all this, do workers really feel represented? Are these negotiations truly about fairness or about keeping everyone quiet until next year? Because when the same 9% becomes the answer to everything, you can't help but wonder if the whole system is designed to settle for less, while the people at the top keep explaining why times are hard. For me, this is not about numbers, but it's about trust. If workers are losing faith in their own leaders, then the whole idea of organized labor loses its meaning. Ghanaian workers deserve better. Not promises, not selective invitations, not silence, but real value for their labor.
Hey, me who news bulletin and I'm sick. I say my ba. Ebi wani aje, ebi musu eja. But you have no option. You can make it in Ghana for no money aje. Because 9%, almost half a loaf is better than none. But so when I say 9% EM wawa, and then you walk gada unkukunu unkaka na sha. Dubai channel, Europe channel, America channel. The open Inshirani, enemy ni. Remuyini open, abrabo bezuya everywhere.
Now, organized labor force then. Almost the 20% na kwa tu abenim. Mete isa na mose mumpe 20% na nado COVID time 24, 30. Na mose mumpe. Munya ubi ti se Professor Ransford edi enjampu beka kire mu se 24% no the mam 10% ne ye because mu meeting no president betre mu shows humility samokai. And ye na free ho na say the ebani monye 10% na ye de mam no a yes say city ni stabilize yes she no ma na she bibi be sisa ni ya bom na city na ya branch enti mu salary na allowance be ya branch ye no ene asan hwim so abanya osu obu no etimi yi ade from 10 at about 2.5%. Say a famofo ya famofo sa na ye be yamu 10 na musu hu no aban say oh me ye cedi ni ye me ye dollar ni ye. The people cannot reduce the money because this dollar cedi thing no is artificial and no obi ayi na kan say me or ye or say ye doping asi enyina etu mirika no obi so obefa duro kakra na say de be obekọ faster. That is doping. Otiasie. Because the reality is that the economic fundamentals of the country has not changed. What has not changed? We are still importing more than we export. And last time I told you, we even import our cedi. Yesika na yedino, ye import because ye interest ka wa. Enti yesika no kura yedino, ye import, our money is imported. And these are the fundamental issues the government must address. He has said a number of videos say there must be a way. Windfall aba gold price in 4,000 per tons that. But this year, yenya $4,000 per tons. All the windfalls falling out from these things, you know, instead of you to put it in a safe haven where a normal cut down, a price is never down, you bet me support the economy, no. We are pumping the money into the system at the manage cedi. $6 billion ni ya pompi edi agusi system no mi eni edi manage si eni atam 62 billion Ghana cedis say ye dey manage inflation. And all these things, they are theoretical. It has not reflected. Some say inflation is 8%. Ada munko jemana. But now is lego ha never says inflation is 8% ya. Ko asalibuche ko ablekuma kokofodi aneko bisa say is ade a wotoni ateswa na year by year. Mon pesi ye beka no kre. And to organize labor, yes, ye besumusu anke ye share moma, ye see amamo 10%. And a mujubility say abana ya idea his humble, wabetna ye meeting mu, nyamishira no ye hu ne so aban badba, abampadia. Nanadu abaya COVID in the face of COVID, Russia-Ukraine war, and normal bafom yatutu borders mu, GRF want to mean taxes, a man for close to mu businesses, yenye sika ubia, teachers, nurses, tenefia yetu muka 12 months. And no krotimi tumu, na monko edumo, yetumit incentivize mo. Whereby I say, hey, mama, 10%. Rashford Jampo mu, ye who be that. About with any humility, ye who be that, and ojai, you tag no or cause or pre-president, a general secretary, ojam one or shippers authority. Monko ne conditions of service. Monko he. And ye jam was here, a buying proposal 2.5%. And ne. Money na come and 6% no de be mamo. Ya famofo. 6%. Ya me kwa. So na 5 and no na moko na ye de 1 abia ho. Asi ya twofufu a we mu na wanim ni ya de kitwa bi abia wanu ti se tennis ball no. Monye ne sa. Said mo pe no enu manya. Abaya kachira will say, will be no 10% no will stabilize the economy. What stabilize the economy? Inflation a free 20 about 8. When I was see the dollar near 10. I feel problem ni biem. I don't want to mean to because you know say it's artificial. Want to mean to and to 6% no amusu say on fan for 50% no. Munyante he. Almost so mama abani mamo 10% na no ko 2 light mu 21% until we are shown bad faith into omu pe 50 mu hu de eba ye nsha ase ye more pray kura me say pray no ye more pray ye first pray kura ma ni e ka na mu di atem mu hu he why nyame shiro bi amonkoso 6% no esi
ubet ma chere wa adwen ama me e wo comment section ha yi Penyah Media agra